Caitlin Clark's face said it all after Game 2. She wasn't just frustrated. She was furious. The Indiana Fever weren't beaten by talent. They were beaten by whistles, dragged into a mud fight they never signed up for. 41 fouls, 16 in one quarter, bodies crashing to the hardwood on nearly every possession. This wasn't basketball. It was chaos dressed up as playoff intensity. And yet somehow, the headlines the next morning crowned A'ja Wilson the hero, erasing the grit and sacrifice Indiana poured into the game. But anyone who watched knew better. They knew the Fever had been robbed, and that Game 3 at Gainbridge Fieldhouse would be about more than basketball. It would be about redemption. From the opening tip of Game 2, Las Vegas didn't try to outplay Indiana. They tried to outmuscle them. Elbows on rebounds, shoulders on screens, shoves on cuts. It was a brawl, sanctioned by referees who swallowed their whistles 1 minute and blew them at the worst possible times the next. Steph White, Indiana's head coach, said it best. It's hard for us to find flow when there's a foul called every 10 seconds. Basketball is supposed to be rhythm, timing, spacing. But how do you find rhythm when every trip down the floor ends at the free throw line? And still, Indiana fought. Nobody embodied that fight more than Lexie Hull. She should never have been on the court. Her back was wrecked from Game 1, the kind of injury that would sideline most players. But this is the playoffs. Hull taped herself together, stepped onto the floor, and made herself a problem Las Vegas couldn't ignore. 5 three-pointers tying the franchise playoff record. Every time she hit the floor, and it happened over and over, she got back up. It wasn't just toughness. It was defiance. Hull wasn't going to let pain, Vegas's bullying, or even lopsided officiating silence her. She proved that the Fever don't just have stars, they have warriors. Aaliyah Boston's night told the same story. 13 rebounds and 10 points look respectable on paper, but the reality was far uglier. She was mauled possession after possession, treated like a crash test dummy in the paint. Every board she secured was a battle against arms, shoves, and no calls. Boston didn't crack. She didn't whine. She survived, and survival in a game like that is its own statement. Odyssey Sims added her own rebellion with 18 points, slicing through double teams and hacking hands, refusing to let the Aces choke out Indiana's offense completely. But the cost of every bucket was blood and bruises, and then there was Kelsey Mitchell. Game 1 belonged to her. 34 points, unstoppable from every angle, silencing a Vegas crowd on the night A'ja Wilson was celebrated as MVP. Mitchell stole the spotlight that night, and the Aces never forgot it. In Game 2, their entire strategy revolved around suffocating her. Face-guarded without the ball, bumped off every cut, shoved off every screen. By the time she had daylight, the shot clock was bleeding out. She finished with just 13 points, not because her talent disappeared, but because Vegas turned the game into a cage match. Mitchell wasn't just defended, she was mugged. And yet, despite all of this, Indiana refused to break. That's the piece the box score and the morning after headlines couldn't capture. The Aces didn't expose Indiana's weaknesses. They exposed their own desperation. They leaned on brute force, leaned on favorable whistles, and barely clawed their way to a win on their home floor. That's not dominance. That's survival. And if Las Vegas needed both the referees and dirty play to scrape out Game 2, what happens when the series shifts to Indianapolis? It's an amplifier. It takes every defensive stand and turns it into thunder. It takes every questionable whistle and drowns it in outrage. Officials who could ignore shoves and elbows in Vegas won't be able to escape the roar of 17,000 furious Fever fans. Home court in the playoffs isn't just about rims and routines, it's about pressure. It forces referees to confront their decisions. It rattles even the most experienced champions, and it gives players like Mitchell, Hull, and Boston the surge they need to turn frustration into fire. History matters here too. The Fever didn't just win Game 1. They dismantled Vegas, a 16-point blowout in the champ's own fortress. That doesn't vanish because of one ugly Game 2. If anything, it hardens resolve. The Fever know they can beat this team clean. They've already done it. Now they'll have their crowd, their energy, and their anger pushing them toward a knockout punch. Even Becky Hammon, the Aces coach, admitted afterward that the physicality of Game 2 was out of control. When the winning coach says that, it tells you all you need to know about how slanted the game really was. So now, the series tilts back to Indiana. Mitchell, silenced in Game 2, has every reason to erupt in Game 3. Hull, already a hero for gutting through pain, will have her toughness multiplied by a crowd chanting her name. Boston, battered but unbroken, will have an army behind her with every rebound. And Caitlin Clark, furious but focused, will step onto the floor with a chance to channel all of it. anger, injustice, pride, into the kind of performance that flips a series on its head. Game 3 isn't just another playoff game. It's the pivot point. It's where this series stops being about Vegas's reputation and starts being about Indiana's rise. Because the truth is simple. The Fever didn't break in Game 2. They absorbed. They endured. And now, they're coming home with revenge as fuel and 17,000 voices as their weapon. If you believe the Fever are ready to put Vegas on the ropes, drop a "Let's Go Fever" in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss a moment of this playoff battle. The story of this series isn't over, it's just beginning.